Yeah, so tell me, maybe one of you guys could explain what's the motivation for moving the voting age to 16?
I think that like there are a bunch of different benefits, but for me personally, I think the reason why I got so involved in Vote 16 is because um, we believe that Vote 16 can act as like improving democracy and improving civics engagement among youth because at age 16, students are at home living with their parents in a stable environment, parents who've already established their voting habits. And at age 18, students are for the most part in a period of change in their lives. And their main like socialization factor is their peer group who have not yet established those voting habits. So it's a lot easier for students to confront kind of like the daunting task of voting for their first time in that stable home environment at age 16. And if they're able to do that, then they can establish that voting habit and carry it on with them, you know, for the rest of their lives. And as I think we all know, like voter turnout across the United States and in Palo Alto, especially amongst younger demographics, is pretty low. And that paints a really concerning picture. And so we believe that Vote 16 can kind of be like one piece of that solution.
Okay, great. And so how did this get started? Like, how did Vote 16 get rolling?
I think Miranda can take that
Yeah.
because
Basically, I was really involved in journalism throughout my high school years, and because of that, I attended a lot of school board meetings, and a lot of young people got interested in the issues that they were talking there. So basically, a bunch of students got together to form the student-led movement. And yeah, we did start off with the intention of lowering the voting age to 16 for school board elections. We had to shift to city council elections because we talked to the county council, James Williams, who said that because the Palo Alto city and school district boundaries don't align, there might not be a legal way for us to lower the voting age for school board. And so we've shifted our focus to city council, but we maintain the same goals and reasoning for that change.
I see. And are there other cities in the country that have done this as well?
Yes. I believe 3 cities in Maryland have passed Vote 16. So 16 and 17-year-olds can vote in local elections, and they've been showing up to polls. And in Berkeley, they have passed the measure, but they're working on implementation right now.
Oh, wow. Okay. So if we do it here, we could almost copy Berkeley then, because it's another California city, so it makes it easier. I didn't
Uh,
realize Berkeley passed this. When did they pass it?
I think maybe 2 years ago. I think.
And SF is also currently working on, they brought it to the ballot, I think in 2016 or 2018, I believe, and it got like 47% of the vote. And so they're putting it on the ballot for 2020 again. Berkeley was just school districts, and they were able to do that because they're like school district and city boundaries aligned. And San Francisco is like all local elections. So they're looking for city council, county, and school board. So,
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah.
And so for the places that have done Vote 16, what have the results been?
So
Oh, go Rachel.
So one of the places that has like the biggest amount of evidence would be those cities in Maryland, and they had pretty low voter turnout rates overall. But what they found, like for the not for 16 and 17-year-olds, but prior to implementing Vote 16, and what they found was that 16 and 17-year-olds turned out at 4 times the rate of the rest of the general.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have expected that. So it was
Yeah.
really took off.
Yeah.
So for like the 2015 election in Tacoma Park, Maryland, 21% of all voters voted, but 45% of voters aged 16 to 17 showed up to the polls.
Wow. Okay, that's a pretty high number.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some opponents of this may say, well, do 16 and 17-year-olds know enough? Are they mature enough? Are they educated enough about the topics to really meaningfully participate? So how would you guys respond to that?
I think we've spent a lot of time researching this issue because we know that that's a very big concern for a lot of people. And what the research actually shows, and we'd be happy to like provide these resources to anyone who's interested in reading them, is
So
that
actually, what you could do that'd be really great is after this meeting, if you could post those links, this video can be posted to our Facebook page. If you guys could post those links to all that information onto the comment sections so that other people could see that.
All right, we'll do that. But basically what these studies say is that like on measures of citizenship, so there was this one study that measured citizenship. They measured like developmental trajectories for tolerance, civic knowledge, political skills, political efficacy, political interest, volunteering, stuff like that. And what they basically found that is like at age 16, those developmental trajectories are the same as like at ages 18 and ages 21. And they found the same thing for maturity levels with respect to cold cognition, which is individuals' ability to make like long-term thought out decisions. And they found that at age 16, both like measures of citizenship and measures of like cold cognition were the same at ages 16 and 18, which indicates that like 16-year-olds do have that like baseline necessary maturity to cast informed votes. And another thing that we've been thinking about with Vote 16 is kind of using Vote 16 as a push for improved civics education in PAUSD schools and more information regarding like local politics, local issues, to make sure that like if 16 and 17-year-olds are able to vote, that their right to vote comes with civics education in schools where they have a structured environment where they can learn about these issues and make informed decisions on them.
Okay, so you guys have mentioned a lot of pros to this, right? Are there any other pros that we haven't talked about that you guys like to mention?
I think either Antonio or Marina can talk about, we have an argument that's basically called stake in the game, which is how, I mean, they'll explain it, but.
Yeah, I guess I can talk about that. So I feel like one of the main reasons that we wanted to do this is because obviously young people are a large portion of the constituents for city council. And we believe that youth are just as affected by decisions made by city council as the rest of the population. So things that the city council covers, such as like climate action, like sustainability and environmental plans, or police reform, transportation reform, budget cuts to the teen program, are all issues that teens care about. And given the chance to vote, I believe that we'll definitely all make an effort to educate ourselves on the scope of city council issues.
Yeah, I think in general, most young people do not participate in city politics, unfortunately. So a lot of the programs, like teen programs, get cut because no one really says a whole lot, right? So yeah, so that's unfortunate. So it would be great if there was more participation. Okay, now let's talk about cons. What are some of the cons? I talked about one concern, which is, you know, are 16, 17-year-olds mature enough? Are they knowledgeable enough to really vote meaningfully? You guys addressed that, but are there any other cons? What are some of the cons that people brought up or that have occurred when people have implemented this program?
Yeah, so this is more based off concerns that other people have brought up to us, one of which being like, are young voters going to vote the same as their parents do? And we've looked at evidence about that. There was a study done analyzing evidence in Austria that showed that young people don't vote the same as their parents. Like parental influence basically goes as far as like encouraging young people to turn out. Like parents can influence the fact that their young people will turn out at higher rates, but they don't influence their like specific political decisions. That's one concern. Another concern people have had is it's mostly maturity based. I think that another concern that was brought up with regards to school board, voting in school board, is that we know like property values and property taxes are very directly tied to the quality of schools. And so there was some concern, like what happens if allowing students to vote, you know, like decreases property values. And that, I think, there's a pretty logical response to that, which is that like students have a different perspective on their schools than any other member of the community, and they know what needs work and what needs improvement, right? Like allowing students to express their voice in school board opinions is going to be a positive thing, right? They're going to identify areas of improvement in the school district and we'll be able to improve those. So that may even like, you know, increase property values, right? We're looking to improve schools, and I think that that student perspective will be key in doing that.
Okay. Any other cons that people talked about, or any other potential issues that haven't really been discussed so far?
I think the only other one I can think of would be some people are concerned that like youth will get attached to like one issue and you know, like vote on the candidate based on their position on one issue, which I think it's important to recognize that that can happen to anyone of any age, right? I'm sure there are Palo Alto citizens of all ages who get really attached to that one issue. And I also want to point out that like if we are able to improve civics education in PAUSD, that would provide like a structured education on like all of the issues pertaining to local elections. And so students would have knowledge on all of them, possibly more knowledge than other, local citizens who haven't gone through that specific education. So I think that I understand the concern, but I also think it's one that applies to other demographics as well. And we kind of have a plan in place to mitigate the effects for 16 and 17-year-olds.
Okay. And can you talk a little bit about where you guys are at in your Vote 16 campaign? Like, I mean, have you guys started a petition? If so, how many people signed up, and where you guys are at in terms of, campaigning for this initiative?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about that. But so right now what we're mainly figuring out right now is if we can get this on the 2020 ballot. If we can, the next steps look very different than if we're aiming for 2022. But we did start a petition for school board a while ago. We've met with elected officials at all levels of local government. We've met with school board members, city council members, people at the county. We've established a community coalition of local leaders who've been advising us for next steps. So we've done a lot of stuff, and I can go into that a little more if you'd like, but I think,
Sure. Actually, I'd love it if you could talk about, like, who were some of the elected officials who supported it or didn't support it?
yeah.
What were the issues that they had with this? Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I can speak a little more directly to like our community coalition, because that's a group of local leaders who've been very supportive, and we meet with them about once a month, and they give us like advice. And so some of the members of that coalition right now include Thomas Lee, who's the Gun Student School Board representative, Jeannie Lithcott, who's in the League of Women Voters, Shaunak Durop, who's a school board member, Laura Stark, who's on the Parcel Tax Committee, Grace Ma, who is on the Gun PTA and on the County Board of Education, Terry Godfrey, who's a former school board member and was this past year's president of the League of Women Voters, Elizabeth Olson, who's this past year's Pali PTA president, Dana Tom, former school board member, Adrian Germain, who has also worked on parcel tax, Stephen Lee, who's on the Palo Alto Human Relations Commission. So, and there have been more supportive individuals, but these are the ones who, like off the top of my head, who have been working with us, consistently. But for the most part, people that we've met with have been pretty open and supportive. But there definitely have been concerns like the ones that I brought up, and those are of course valid because this is a new idea and would be a big change. So it's understandable that people have concerns. So yeah.
And have you guys done a poll or survey of how do people in our city think about this? Would they support it, not support it? Any sort of outreach you've done to the people here in our city?
We haven't done that yet, but that's definitely something that we're looking to do. And I think the timing of that is definitely dependent on whether we're aiming for 2020 or 2022.
Okay. I think it'd be important to, no matter what time it is, like when you guys actually make this happen, to actually get a pulse of the community, right? To understand how does the community feel about this. Just it doesn't have to be a super scientific survey, or it could be a petition. That's also another way to kind of measure it, because that'll let you know how easy or hard this is going to be.
Just 5 minutes until our meeting's ending.
Okay. Yeah. So, is there any sort of petition at all on this, or do you guys have a website or something?
Yeah, we do have a website, and we can link that when we, post the other resources. Another great resource, if people are interested in learning more about this, is the National Vote 16 website, because it is
a national effort as well.
Yeah, so it's a national organization that has chapters across the U.S. and that has our website is pretty good right now, but we're still working on improving it. So if you really want to look at resources, the national one is a great resource, and they also have, they have a description of some of the arguments, they have research, they have an overview of like where this has been done, where it's in progress. Yeah, stuff like that.
And on the national one, are you guys like a chapter of it, or are you guys officially part of it yet, or?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. And have they provided resources to help you in this?
Yeah, they mostly provide like advice. So we work with like one representative from the national organization who helps manage chapters, and he's been really helpful with giving us advice on next steps and like connecting us with other campaigns, stuff like that.
So, like in Maryland or Berkeley, was this initiative actually started by high school students, or was it started by other people, like older people?
I believe it was started by high school students.
Oh wow! Okay, I'm impressed.
Almost probably every chapter, I would feel comfortable saying.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, So we shouldn't underestimate our youth capabilities. So
Never.
okay, great. Okay, good. And so if people want to get involved, what should they do?
They can feel free to contact us. I can put my email, and maybe our Vote 16 email in that description with those other links.
Okay.
If yeah, just feel free to email us. I know we have an Instagram that people can also check out. I think it's
why don't you put both of those in the comment section so that people can find you.
Yeah, and we'd happy to have any help, anyone who's interested in getting involved, whether that be a student or whether that be a community member who's interested in getting involved, volunteering, giving us advice. So yeah, just reach out. We'll provide contact information.
And have you guys actually raised any funds for this effort yet, or not yet?
Yeah, so we're to do that, we have to establish probably like a campaign committee if this is going to be a measure on the ballot, right? Because there's regulations, and we haven't done that yet because we don't know if it's this year or 2022, and that also requires getting a professional treasurer to manage that because you're
you don't have to. So I'm up for re-election as well. You don't need to. It could be anyone actually.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't, but they have to really read the rules carefully.
Yeah, because we know you can be held you're held legally responsible for any. We know we read over all the guidelines, and there's definitely a lot of filing and
Okay. Cool. So I've asked you guys a bunch of different questions. What are some final thoughts you want to leave people on this topic?
I guess just we know that it's a very new idea and may seem strange to some people, but we just ask that you take the time to consider it, because when you do really look into the arguments, I think it's a pretty logical next step for our community. But we also understand that it does come with a lot of concerns because it is a new idea. So I guess just be open-minded and learn about it before you decide against it. And yeah.
Okay. And so are you guys all from the same high school, or is this polygon? What's the makeup of the group so far?
It's majority Poly students, but we do have a couple gun students as well, and we're also working on recruiting more gun students so that there's a more equal representation.
Okay, but no one from other schools like Castellea or
not right now, but that's definitely something to think about because
Okay, well, I guess the good thing about doing the public schools is that you're pretty sure that they, for the most part, live here, right? Okay, good. Well, thank you for taking your time out Sunday to chat with me. And if any way I could help, any questions, just let me know.
Yeah, and thank you so much for speaking with us. We know you guys are all really busy, but we really appreciate it.
Okay, well, good luck on it, and yeah, keep me posted as to how this goes, and feel free to use this video any way you want.
Awesome. All right, thank you again.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah.